Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is a Thursday, and all of our guests today, including Craig Button, who's standing by, TSN Scouting Director, are sponsored by Basant Motors. Check out their Canada Day sale all July long. The script has been remedied here. Get $3,000 for scrap car trade-ins, pay no GST, and get a TV. A TV, Rick. With every new financed vehicle. Learn more at BASANTmotors.com. NHL Draft Day. Montreal, as we speak, with the number one pick overall in Montreal. It starts at 4. Canucks scheduled to pick 15th. Here's TSN Scouting Director Craig Button. How are you, sir?
I am good, Donnie. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. What's this day like for you?
Well, it's not. What it is anticipation. You know what? I'm not waiting for my name to be called like the young players. So, there's a tension and a suspense that, the players are just, they know where they're kind of slotted, and they can start to expect a range where they can go in right from the top all the way through the first round. So, when you start to look at it, I love the drama. I love the suspense. It's different than working for a team. You watch these players, really work hard to try to realize what is really their first step in their objective of becoming NHL players. And that's hearing their names called, pulling on an NHL jersey. There's massive excitement. It's the first time in 3 years that the draft has included everybody. So I think that given what the draft has looked like the last 2 years and what it looks like this year in Montreal, with Montreal having the first pick, Donnie, I think it's just fabulous. A return to the draft with everybody in the building and the Canadians with the first overall pick. I don't think you could script it any better.
Yeah, it's great theater with the families involved. Craig, your last mock draft going into this entry draft, you have Swift Current left-handed defenseman Owen Pickering going to Vancouver at number 15. If indeed that happens, if the Canucks end up with Owen Pickering, and we all know they need to shore up their defense, what would they be getting?
Well, first of all, Donnie, I did the mock draft. That's exactly how it's going to unfold. What do you mean?
Well, of course.
If he ends, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but the mock draft, I get it right every year. Don't I? It's funny. I got to share this with you. I get all kinds of comments after the mock draft. They go, "Oh, God, they're not taking him." I said, "Yeah, I don't know who they're taking. The teams don't even know who they're taking because they got to let things unfold in front of them, right?" So what I would say is, and you nailed it. The Vancouver Canucks, they have a number one goaltender in Thatcher Demko. They have lots of excellent offensive players, and Quinn Hughes is a number one defenseman. They need plural defensemen to be able to come in and be able to contribute on that blue line, because if they don't get them, they're not going to move ahead as a team. And, you can look at the draft and you can say, okay, this player, that player, but things at that range for me become relatively even. And when you have a 6'5" defenseman that has grown not only literally but figuratively in his game, smart. He reminds me of Jacob Slavin of the Carolina Hurricanes. And Jacob Slavin is an outstanding defenseman. What I would call one of the best 15 defensemen in the league. And so you watch how far Owen has come in the last year and a half, and I just think that that type of player, that ability to play big minutes in all the situations, it's going to be a few years before he plays in the NHL. But if you don't draft those players, good luck getting them later on, because teams don't give them up in trades.
Well, Craig, I got to ask you about JT Miller. Here we are, and as far as we know, yesterday was quiet. Far as we know is that the offers have not been great. The Canucks ask is still very high. What do you think's happening with JT Miller in a possible trade right now, Craig?
Well, here's what I would say to you, Rick and Donnie, is that the ask should be high on JT Miller. We're talking about a premier player, an offensive producer that excels, and he's got a great contract. So you combine those two things together, and, you look at teams that are, up against the cap, and, they're saying, well, JT Miller only has a year. Well, guess what? The next year might be the most critical year in your organization's history. Like when I say history, the short period of time that you have, start to say about a free agent. So the Vancouver Canucks should be asking a lot for JT Miller, because this is not just their only opportunity to trade JT Miller. There's going to be other opportunities. What happens if they don't get what they want going into the draft? Well, there's free agency, and there's still the trade deadline. And JT Miller, with his contract, with his ability to produce at the level that he produces at, and keep in mind, it's in JT Miller's best interest to go out and play to the level that he's capable of playing. I don't think you're going to have a disgruntled player playing in Vancouver, because JT Miller is also looking to be the best he can be for his future. So if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I'm asking for a boatload, because JT Miller has significant value, contract and on the ice ability.
Craig, Chris Letang is 35 years old. He got a 6-year extension today. Your thoughts?
Totally. Well, you know what? Okay, we can talk about 6 years, right? But here's what I'll say about Chris. Number one, his game is as good as it's ever been. We can look at the birth certificate. Chris Letang is a top 10 defenseman in the league. There's no question about it. So, what will 4 years from now look like? He's not going to be the same player. I don't think he can be the same player. But when you factor in what he's meant and you try to look at how do you replace a player like that, I think Chris has 4 good years left. I think he probably has 2 excellent years left and then 2 really good years. Let's not forget that Nick Lidstrom won a Norris Trophy when he was 40. I'm not putting Chris Letang in the Nick Lidstrom category. But, we know what the birth certificate says, and we know there's an aging curve and what goes with it. But there are players that don't fit that mold. I think Chris, the way he skates, the way he plays the game, how smart he is, that he can get a good 4 years. I don't know what year 5 and 6 will look like, but for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they wanted Chris Letang. They know how important Chris Letang is at. So to me, you're trying to keep a player that's really important to your team, that's a longtime Penguin. Obviously, I'm not into nostalgia to keep a player. I think Chris Letang has lots of good hockey ahead of him. Year 5 and 6, might not be as good commensurate with the contract.
Yeah, Craig, back to your mock draft. Nothing mock about it. It's the way it's going to happen. You have, and not everybody does, Shane Wright going first to the Habs over Juraj Slafkovsky. Some thought that the Devils will go, depending on what the Habs do, will go with a defenseman. Do you think that's a possibility? Will Logan Cooley work his way in there? Where are you?
Yeah, you know what, Donnie? I think that's a real possibility. I look at Simon Nemec. Simon Nemec is an outstanding defenseman from Slovakia. And if you start to watch a player that just won the Conn Smythe in the Norris, that would be Cale Makar. And you think about that type of player, you're not looking at a player to come in, and certainly Simon isn't Cale Makar. But he's got those elements to his game. Excellent with the puck, dynamic skater into the attack. So you start to look and you say, hey, wait a second here. We have a player here that we know is going to be a few years. He's played so above his age group and really played well. This year in the Slovak Extra Liga playoffs, which is the pro league in Slovakia, he dominated Simon. He was unbelievable. He was at the World Championships, and he's a player that, to me, has lots of tremendous upside. And I know this for a fact. The New Jersey Devils in 2017 debated at number 1 between Nico Hischier and Cale Makar, not Nolan Patrick. So they're looking now at Simon Nemec, and they're looking at, they got some good forwards, and they're saying, well, geez, we get that type of a dynamic defenseman. And they look back to their own history of the draft and how they were looking at players. Wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Simon Nemec go 2. What would be interesting, Donnie, what happens if Slafkovsky goes 1 and Nemec goes 2? Slovaks 1 and 2.
Yeah.
There's never been a Slovak drafted first. That would be significant for Slovakia hockey.
And as I recall that Makar draft, you did have Cale Makar going first in your mock draft going into that. I seem to remember that. Just say yes, Craig.
Well, you know what? There's a history out there, and it's documented, Donnie. So I have a choice to be totally honest or to just be called a liar. So I'm not going to revise history. I did have Hischier going 1, but you know what? He did go 1, and that's what the mock draft is about, fun. But, on my final ranking list, I should have had Makar 1.
And
guess what?
You're not alone.
Everybody knows that too.
You're not alone.
Well, they do today.
Craig, all the best today. There's a lot of questions we didn't get asked here, but we ran out of time. We could go on for hours with you, my friend. Thanks so much, Craig.
You guys have a great day.